Well, what's up again there, guys? Brian here, the Three Topics Gamer, here to give you another weekly of my Q&A to help the people's questions for answer, a series of questions that have been sent to me over the past week. This time I think it's a pretty balanced episode. We have about 5 questions. However, I did get a bunch of questions that were answered in the comments section, so I want to thank everybody that sent in your questions that I was able to answer there, as well as a few questions that other people were actually able to answer for me, which I really do appreciate. But, before I jump into the questions, like always, if you happen to like this video and would also like to see more content, please do not forget to press that thumbs up button and press the subscribe button to keep track of me and all my future projects. Starting off with the first question, coming from Blaring C89, and you want to know, if given a chance to be trained by anyone from Mortal Kombat, who would I train under and why? I would definitely train under Scorpion or Master Hasashi. The reason I would easily want to join the Shirai Ryu above all things is I think the Shirai Ryu is a clan that works best with people who have a bit of baggage and a little bit of damage to them. When you take to the fact that Scorpion is a rather vengeful but then kind of tragic character, you can kind of see that the mentality of a Shirai Ryu can really enhance that part of a character and therefore act as a driving force. And I just think, training under Scorpion, learning a number of his techniques and being a member of the Shirai Ryu would really help with my development and really give me a set of structure and morals that I could follow. Not so much to be so much vengeful, but to kind of harness that raging fire, that anger that one has inside them. And that's definitely something I saw in Takeda. That's definitely something we see in Scorpion. And I think that's definitely a quality I see a bit in myself, which is why I would love to be trained under Scorpion and join the Shirai Ryu. And though I probably would never have been able to, join the original clan in its previous state, I think with the new order of the Shirai Ryu, I think if I prove myself, I think I would be welcomed in. Next question comes from Brady Burke, and you want to know, what are my goals in life revolving around a career? Now, there was actually a little bit of a debate in the comment sections about this question, and I would say this. Someone said that, I actually do encourage you guys to ask personal questions. The more you guys ask about me and get to know me better, the better I feel. And these are questions I definitely like to go more in depth. So I'm more than happy to ask personal questions of any kind. But to go back to your question, Burke, currently my life goal in terms of the career is to actually somehow work in a media sense in the gaming industry. This has always been my ambition for like the past 10 years. Some of you guys might not know this, but when I went to college back in 2008, I actually did go to a college in Arizona. It's not there anymore, for game development. And once I got through with that, I originally, I've always loved gaming, and the G4 channel was always still present, so they promoted a lot of game development colleges. And when I got through with all of that, I kind of realized that I didn't want to necessarily make video games, but more talk about them, because being a game developer, you have to give up a lot of things. And once I saw the process and the amount of stress and the difficulty, it's not that I have a distaste for doing anything difficult or hard that requires work, but just the amount of struggle, I think, would just be a bit too overwhelming for someone like me. It's probably something I probably would fall out of love with probably within 5 years. Trust me, developing a video game of any kind is extremely difficult to do. It takes a lot of time. There are a lot of different parts. You guys, for those of you who don't even know much about game development, you can't even imagine how difficult, how much time that takes. So that's kind of where the idea of still wanting to work in the gaming industry, but I think sharing my opinion and talking about it, and because I think I can be very articulate in my breakdowns, because I'm very big on analysis and wanting to be more in-depth instead of just saying basic things. And I think that's kind of where my drive to be part of the to talk about the gaming industry in a media sense started from. Some of you guys also might not know this, but I actually did happen to write articles and game reviews and topic discussions on a newspaper here in Vegas, and that was actually the way I was able to go to my very first E3 back in 2013. It went out of business, but I think just the fact that actually putting my foot in the door and doing that kind of stuff allowed me to achieve one of my lifelong dreams, and that was to go to an E3, because this was before E3 was public. Back then, you actually had to be invited. You actually had to be a member of the media or work in the gaming industry, actually, in order to go to E3 at that time. So the fact I was able to do that was just, that was the moment that solidified that, this is what I want to do. And it's sadly been 7 years, and I'm not any closer to that than I am now. It's sad to say that I've had 3 different jobs, and none of them I've ever actually loved. And I think being on YouTube and actually having a platform, I think kind of acted with, I mean, I would say my channel acts as a portfolio, but I would do anything just to have an opportunity to actually get to try a media type job in the gaming industry. And it doesn't even matter on any position, just to be part of the gaming industry and have a career in it. That would be more than enough for me to do. I'm still trying to figure out how to do that, and I'm just looking for any opportunity, and literally any opportunity that would allow me to do that. I would instantly take, no matter where it was, except maybe California. I would hate to live in California, anywhere but California. I just hate that state. But yeah, literally, if I got like a phone call and someone said they liked my content and they would like to, at least talk to me about something, but it would require me to move to so and so location, I would instantly do it in a heartbeat. Anything that allows me to be part of the gaming industry and have a career in it, and especially get out of Vegas, because I don't like living in Vegas anymore, I would instantly jump in a heartbeat. You have no idea just how much of a morale booster that would be for me, especially since I'm suffering from depression at this point in time. But heck, you guys don't want to hear about that. Wow, that went on for quite a long time, so I hope that wasn't too overwhelming for you guys in watching this. Next question comes from the Batman of Neo Gotham, and you want to know, since I have played through Assassin's Creed Origins at this point, what would I say my favorite aspects of the game were and why? Okay, I can only really compare it to something like Odyssey, and I can just kind of see where its combat, its RPG elements, its exploration, I can see how they would all be, in my opinion, improved in Odyssey, in my opinion. But I think the fact that it was so different from the original style of Assassin's Creed games, I'm now that I've played 2 of these games, I'm totally open for games that completely redesign its structure. But to be, again, I've been a fan of that for some other games, because if you look at the recent God of War 4, its structure is completely different from the original style of God of War games, but it works. So I think that if any game developer would want to put that much work into completely just reinventing their franchise, I think if you put that amount of work and that amount of effort and that amount of care, I think it can work out very, very well. And I think that Odyssey and Origins are a proof example of that. Next question comes from Shadow DCS Gaming, and you want to know, which planet from Resident Evil do I think was better, Wesker or Sadler's? I kind of wish you had gone into a little bit more detail explaining exactly what their plans were, but okay, I guess Wesker's plan was to take all these different viruses over the series and combine it with Ouroboros and then reduce the population so that only a master of super race humans would exist, or Sadler, who kidnapped the president's daughter, infected her, would send her back to her father in order to infect him. Therefore, Sadler would then be able to control the president, and then God knows where that would go. I think Wesker's a little bit more intense, because that's his plan is to wipe out people on a global scale. I think Sadler, even if he could get control of the president, I think without understanding the political system, he'd be limited in what he could actually do. And I think it wouldn't take too long for someone to realize that something is going on. As opposed to Wesker's plan, you wouldn't even know what's going on until it was too late. So I think in that sense, I think that Wesker's plan is a little bit more diabolical, a little bit more grand, and a little bit harder to stop if you weren't aware of it. So yeah, I think that I would go for Wesker. And the last question of the episode comes from Phantom Cities, and you want to know, what is my biggest issue with the Marvel Cinematic Universe overall, and why did I lose interest in it after Infinity War? It just got to a point where there's just too many of them, and they all feel too the same, and on top of that, these are characters I generally don't care about. I mean, that's where it comes down to. Like, when I literally look at the Avengers, literally, the only person I care about, the only, like, I'm generally not an Avengers fan in general. Like, the only Marvel heroes that I'm a big fan of are members of the X-Men or outside of that, and that's Spider-Man. And I've openly stated, I do not like this version of Spider-Man. I do not like Tom Holland as Spider-Man. I do not like his interpretation of Peter Parker at all. I'll take Andrew Garfield any day over him. And I think after Infinity War, I could kind of predict what was going to happen in Endgame. And I still have not seen Endgame, but I pretty much know what happens in it. I just kind of, like, the ending was ridiculous to me. That was like, I didn't need to see the next movie, and I already knew what was going to happen. And I've openly stated this, and I mean this, but I will not see another MCU film until there is a massive hard reboot, because now they're going to incorporate the X-Men, and I don't even want to watch that. and they'll probably incorporate the Fantastic Four. And I'm like, I don't need to watch any more of these movies, because it gets to the point where the stories are not built to make the best stories. They're made for business. They're not going to make any type of story decisions that will not be financially profitable for them. And because of that, that limits what they can actually do. When you take that element out, it makes your movies a little bit more unpredictable, because you don't know what's going to happen. But that's not how it is in the MCU anymore. Their decisions are made upon profit, not necessarily storytelling. And that's something that's been present with the MCU for at least the past 5 years. So that's pretty much the main reason. I mean, I'm not saying that Justice League is any better, because, you know, dear God, it's in a really bad state right now, and it's only just now starting to recover. Although I'm stating this right now, I still will never watch Wonder Woman 84, whatever the hell it comes out. I won't be watching that film ever in my life. I'll die before I watch that film. But it just ran its course. I believe that there's a point where you need to stop. Like, I don't want a story to put it this way. Any series in which you have to do research in order to know what the order of movies is, I think is too long, in my opinion. So, yeah. I mean, unless you're James Bond, but then James Bond's a lot more interesting to me than the MCU. But heck, those just my initial thoughts on why I just kind of I've just lost interest in the MCU as a whole. So, yeah. Those are pretty much the 5 questions that were sent to me that made it into this video. If you guys have any more questions you'd like me to answer in next week's episode, be sure to type them in the comments down below. But make sure you get them into me roughly before Wednesday at noon, before I start filming the next episode. And like always, thank you guys for watching. You're awesome, and I will see you next week.